Okay, so now we're recording it. So anything I say is held against me. Okay, so we're going to solve by factoring. So write this one down. So what we could do, and no one did this, at least no one said it out loud, no one did this in this period, but on the warm-up, some people took their answer choices, A, B, C, D, and E, and they went back and then tried to decide which one felt right, just kind of which one fit. And if this were multiple choice, you could plug in, you could say, well, maybe x equals 1. When I plug it in, 1 squared is 1, 6 times 1 is 6, 19 times 1 is 19, so 6 minus 19 would be negative 13, negative 13 minus 7 is negative 20. Does that equal 0? No, so the answer is not 1. Now we just have an infinite number of other choices to try, right? But we'd rather have a more efficient way to solve this. So we could check it that way. We're going to learn 3 different techniques today, and we're going to have a 4th technique next time on how to solve for x. And the reason why we have different techniques is because, well, if I ask you to pound a nail into the wall, could you do it with a screwdriver? You could, but would it be the best tool? Probably not. Just like if I gave you a screw and said that get that in the wall, you could pound that in as well, but probably not the best tool. So I'm going to give you 3 different tools today. Use the one that's most appropriate because we always like to make it the easiest. So I think this is the toughest problem we're really going to do all day. So we'll start with this guy. This 6 right here is what makes it tough. So I'm going to come over here. I'm going to make a magic x. And I'm going to take 6 times negative 7, which is negative 42. And then on the bottom, I put my negative 19. And now the question is, what multiplies to this one and what adds to this one? Now, if you see it automatically, just do it. But if you don't see it automatically, please, please, please make a list. So I'm going to take a list of all the possible factors of 42. So it'd be 1 and 42, 2 and 21, 3 and 14. 4 doesn't go into it, 5 doesn't go into it, 6 goes into it 7 times. Once they're right next to each other, then you can stop. All right. Would this be easier with the lights off? You guys think? Yeah. Try it with the lights off and just see if it's easier to see. If you guys wouldn't mind. Thank you, sir. Way better? Oh. Well, we'll see. Okay. Let's run with it and we'll see how that goes. They give me a little light here. Wow. Okay. So now can I make a 19 out of any of these? 2 and 21, right? So I take my 2 and my 21. It multiplies to a negative, so one of them has to be negative. It adds to a negative, so that means big one negative, small one positive. These are the 2 numbers that we went through all that effort to now find. All right? So now here's what we do with that. Now remember, this is a hard one. You don't have a lot of these. It's whenever there's a number out front you have to do all this stuff. So now I'm going to take this with 3 terms. I'm going to rewrite it into something with 4 terms. So I have 6x squared plus 2x minus 21x minus 7 equals 0. So we took this guy right here and we split it up into those 2. And now from here we're going to factor by grouping. Because whenever you have 4 terms, we factor by grouping. So here's group 1, here's group 2. And what these both have in common, they both have a 2 and also an x in common. And then what's left over would be 3x plus 1. And this one right here, what they both have minus 7 in common. And then what's left over would be 3x plus 1. And remember how we get that is reverse distribution. You're saying negative 7 times what thing would take you back here? And so it would be a 3x and a 1 to take you back. And now we look at this one, we say, well, what do these both have in common? They both have a 3x plus 1, so we factor that out front. And then what's left over is 2x minus 7. And we went through all of this work to get this, and notice how it equaled 0 on the side. It had to equal 0 because now I have 2 things multiplied to equal 0. And you guys all know, is 7 times 8 equal to 0? Is 5 times 80 equal to 0? Is 4,227,000 times 258 equal to 0? No, because we know that whenever two things multiply to equal 0, one of them has to equal 0. So that means that 3x plus 1 has to equal 0, or 2x minus 7 has to equal 0. And we subtract 1, divide by 3, and so x equals negative 1/3. Add 7, divide by 2, and x equals 7 over 2, positive. Now, we knew, because this was an x squared, we knew we were going to end up with two solutions, or we could end up with two solutions. Is young husband okay over there? You all right? Good. Now, graphically, what this looks like is it's going to be, you guys know an x squared, hopefully you always remember it's a parabola. And what we just found then is the two zeros of it, and it's called zeros because it equals 0, are at these 2 points. That's our negative 1/3, that's our 7/2. Since it's a 6, it's a pretty steep one, so it's going to do something like this. It's going to go down, and then come back up, and then cross right there, but we don't care about that yet. So what we just found right there are the two zeros. The nice thing is that we can check this, because since we've got an equal sign, we can always check it. So let's go ahead and check our 7 over 2. And we're going to plug it in and say, does it equal 0? So I'm going to plug that 7 over 2 in. And you could get out a calculator for this, but I'm going to try to do it without. I'm going to go 7 over 2, which is, what's that come out to? 49 over 4. So 6 times 49 over 4 minus 19 times 7. 20 times 7 is 140, so subtract 7, 133. And so we're testing, does this equal to 0? Let's see, 6 divided by 4 would be 3 over 2. And so I end up with 3 times 49, 3 times 50 is 150, so minus 3, 147, minus 133, and they're both over 2 now. Minus 7, does that equal to 0? That equals 14 over 2. And does 7 minus 7 equal 0? Yes, so I just proved that this one is correct. And so make sure that if it's a test, you do take the time to go back and do that. And we could take negative 1/3 and plug it in the same two spots, and we would see that it also works out. Okay, for time's sake, I'm not going to do that. But you would do that, and you'd plug it in. Questions on example 1A? All right. Like I said, that's the most difficult of the bunch, and then from there they're going to get a little bit more straightforward. Yes?
For 147, you just multiply 49 by 2 and then divide it by 2?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, actually I went 3 times 49,
Yeah.
and that's where the 147 comes from.
Okay. So you didn't do anything with the 2?
The 2's right there.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Okay. All right. I'm going to hit pause so we can save that beauty that it was and move on to the next one. Actually, if I hit, let's hit stop. Then